Hello everyone, I'm Don and welcome to my kitchen. Today we're going to make one of my favorites, homemade Italian bread, but not just any homemade Italian bread. If you're local to southwestern Pennsylvania, you're familiar with the name Mancini's bread. Well, for years I always purchased my Mancini's through the local grocery or downtown at the Strip District, or even in McKees Rock directly from the bakery. Now, Mancini's Bakery, for those of you who are not from around the southwestern Pennsylvania, greater Pittsburgh area, has been in business here since the early 1900s. Very sought after. A lot of people make special trips into the city just to get their bread. And I've always wondered, can I replicate that? Well, I took just basically the ingredients off of their bread and started to work with it. And I think I've got something that's reasonably close. It's never going to be exactly to what theirs is. Flavor-wise, I think it's real close, and I think that's the most important. Let's get started with our list of ingredients. 475 grams of bread flour. We've got 2 teaspoons of sugar. We've got 2 1/4 teaspoons of instant yeast, 1 tablespoon of cornmeal, 3 teaspoons of dry diastolic malt, a teaspoon or a tablespoon and a half of lard, and it actually weighs out to be 20 grams, and that's probably the best way to get an accurate measurement on that. And then 2 teaspoons of salt. So we're going to start by adding all our dry ingredients other than the yeast at this point. So we're going to go ahead and get our salt in there, our diastolic malt, our sugar, and our cornmeal. And then I always just take a whisk and I get that brought through the flour as best I can. Next, we're going to add our lard. If you're going to use it in the solid form like this, which I encourage, but you're going to need a tool like this. This is called a pastry blending tool. The other way to go about it would be to go ahead and melt this down in the microwave. I feel like it gets throughout the flour better by using the solid, just like if you were using shortening. So we're going to go ahead and add our lard. And I'm going to take the blending tool and I'm going to just start to work that in. By touch, whether or not you've got anything in there. And I got a little piece right there. And it's a little bit large, so. Okay, so I'm going to put this on my stand mixer. And you're going to use your dough hook for this. I'm going to go ahead and add my 2 1/4 teaspoons of instant yeast. And you're going to turn on your mixer. You just let that go ahead and work its way through. And what you're going to need is 1 cup of warm water, and I actually got one in the microwave, so I'll be right back. What I do is I take a glass Pyrex measuring cup, put a cup of water in there, cold water, microwave it for 40 seconds. It tends to be absolutely the perfect temperature. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I got my water out of the microwave, and it's probably about 115 to 120 degrees. I actually used the thermometer at one point to check it, and it was right in that range. And that's about right for the instant yeast. Now, you're not going to add this all at once. I'm going to let it start to pick up, the dry ingredients. When it seems to be struggling a little bit, or getting to the point where it's all dry, you're going to continue to add in. And I may go around and hit different edges. And generally, if you follow the the exact proportions that I give you as far as weighing out your flour and your lard and use accurate ingredients. You should not have to add any more than the 1 cup of water. And I made this quite a bit, and it generally works out perfect. All right, so now we let the magic happen here in the mixer. You're going to let this knead for up to about 8 minutes, and we're going to do a test. You'll see me whenever I stop it to check it. Occasionally I'll have to get the dough off the hook and get it started again. So there'll be some stop and start here, but in generally it's picking up all the dry ingredients already. So we'll go ahead and get through this, and when we're done, we'll have a nice ball ready to go. We're looking pretty good here, so we're going to go ahead and take the dough out. Now, you want to have some reserve flour on hand, and you want to just kind of dust your countertop. You don't want it to be real concentrated heavy. Dough feels great, so we will do just a little bit of hand kneading. You want this nice, smooth, tight texture. You want those glutens nice and tight. So I get it by turning it in on itself. You're stretching out that and tightening up that outside. And then you can use your counter, and that kind of closes up your bottom. And that's not critical. So then we're going to take a nice bowl, and I just use a spray olive oil, and this is so your dough doesn't stick. You want to put it in, you want to get some of that oil on the dough as well. Keeps it from drying out. And then we're going to cover it with some plastic wrap. Okay, so now we got to let our dough rise, and it's going to be 1 hour. So we're going to just take this and we're going to put it somewhere where it stays warm. It's not, there's no draft. I mean, it's not going to get that anyways, but just out of the way. So I put it in my microwave, and I'll set my oven timer for 1 hour. So when that's up, we'll come back and we're going to go ahead and form our loaf, get it in the oven, and go from there. Be right back. Okay, so it's been about an hour, and our dough is proofed. It has risen, and 1 hour seems to be the magic number for me, anyhow. The right conditions that it's in, that seems to work the best. Any longer, you can overproof your dough. I've had dough that once it's in the oven will fall, and that's a sign of overproofing or create big gas bubbles. In any event, I've taken this out. I had it in the microwave just sitting in there for an hour. And you can see that it's fully developed. It's more than doubled in size. And you're probably wondering, why has he got a piece of rope here? Well, Mancini's bread is famous for their twist bread, which is a braided bread. And I watched a video of the owner do it, and he did it not once, but he did it twice, and he did it so fast, even with me stopping and starting the recording, the video, I really was having a hard time getting it, to be honest with you. So what I did is I took a piece of rope, and I was trying to figure out exactly how to do it, because if I show this to you, I can't show it to you twice with the dough because you're going to overwork your dough at that point. So with the rope, I can show you. It's actually good. I'm probably going to roll that out to arm's length, and I'm a pretty big guy. This is a 3-foot piece of rope, but say this is your dough. So you're going to roll it out, and you're going to end up with a nice little tube. You're going to take this end, and you're going to bring it into about the halfway point. You're going to flip this. You're going to bring this around. You're going to go under. At the same time you're going under, you're going to twist it, and you're going to tuck that end in there. So what you end up with is one continuous braid. I'm not 100% sure that's how he does it, but it looks good on the rope. It looks good on the dough when I do it. So we'll get started with that. So you're going to take your dough out first of all, and you want to put your good side down. And I didn't flour my counter, but I do have a little flour over here in case I need it. And generally, I don't need it. So right away, I want to kind of stretch it because we're going for a long length. And what I'm doing is called punching it down. So what you're doing is you're degassing your dough. It's when your dough was developing, blooming, it was filling with gas. That's your yeast working. So you want to kind of relieve that of that gas. And we're going to have a second rise, which is a second proofing after we shape it. So I'm going to take it, we're going to start to just bring this over in a fold, and we're going to roll it into a tube. And I'm going to start in the middle and continually work my way out till I get some length to this. And at the same time you're doing this, you're kneading the dough. So once again, we're going to bring it in, flip it, bring this end around. We're going to come underneath. At the same time we're flipping this, and we're tucking it in there. And you can see that this is exactly what you want to get. If you look at it from the bottom, you've got your dough coming through. You got your little end coming through here. So now to get prepared for the second proof on this is you want to take your baking sheet and you want to dust it with some corn flour, and I have it right over here. So I've dusted this with some corn flour, and I just want to make sure this is good. And I just kind of compact it all here. And I'm going to take my plastic wrap that I had on my bowl. And I'm just going to go ahead and cover it up. I'm going to stick that back in the microwave for 30 minutes. This is the time you go ahead and preheat your oven too. Go ahead and preheat your oven at 425 degrees. And in 30 minutes we'll be back. All right, so we're back, and it's been 30 minutes, and our loaf has been proofing in the microwave, and it is, you can see it has gained some volume, and that's what you want. So you probably wonder what I got going on over here. Well, if you were in a commercial bakery, their ovens are so much different than our home ovens. Their ovens inject steam, which keeps the bread soft enough that it develops before the crust gets hard. And that happens at the very beginning. When they put it in, and generally they hit a button and it bursts some steam, and it bursts some steam a couple times into the oven. And it really helps the development of the loaf. So I've got a spray bottle with water, and I've got a cup that's got 3/4 of a cup of water in it, cold water. If you remember, I had told you we're going to put I have an old lasagna pan. I put it on the bottom rack. So we're going to go ahead and go over to the oven, And I'm going to go through the whole procedure of setting this up. But it's a pretty quick one because you want that steam to stay in the oven. So what we're going to do is I'm going to pour the water into the pan, get the loaf into the oven, give it a couple shots to the oven sides with the spray bottle, and close it up. And then we're going to repeat that 2 more times, like every 30 seconds. So we're going to go ahead and get started with that. Okay, so you can see I've got the lasagna pan at the bottom. Now what's going to happen is my pan's going to buckle when I pour this water in it. That's typical. Get the loaf in the oven. Close that door up quick. So in another 30 seconds, I'm going to go ahead and do that again. Number 2. All right, well, our 15 minutes are up. Turn the tray around and take a look at our loaf while we're in here. Oh yeah, it's coming along nicely. Now at any point you can tent this if you think it's getting too dark. I'm going to let it go a few minutes. And then we let it go another 5 minutes. And when we come back, I'll have the loaf out. I'm going to let it cool for a little while, and we're going to cut into it so we can take a look at it. So we'll see you real soon. Okay, so we're all set. I've been letting this cool for about 15 minutes, and it's still pretty hot. But we're going to go ahead and cut into it just to take a look at it. First, I'm going to go ahead and show it to you. The bottom of it's nice and brown, and that's because I took it off that pan. I haven't tried any other way, really. I think that that's the best way to go about it. I guess if you have maybe a pizza stone in your oven, you could probably do that. I've tried to oil the pan. It still doesn't get as brown as it does here. So I'm going to go ahead and bring the loaf over. So I'm going to go ahead and take a cut into this. And like I said, it's still probably a little warmer than you typically would cut into it. But you can see that it's got some really nice texture to it. So if you're ever in the Pittsburgh area, I would highly encourage you to go down to the Strip District or into McKees Rocks to the Mancini's Bakery and buy their bread. They've got great pepperoni rolls. They've got so much. It's just a wonderful place. I can't buy a loaf of their bread and make it home. I usually end up with crumbs all down the front of me because I'm pulling apart that fresh baked bread on the way home. I do enjoy baking it. This is pretty close as far as the flavor. I'm not going to stop buying real Mancini's bread by any means. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you try to make it and let me know down in the comments how it worked out for you. If you really did like this video, please like the video, make a comment maybe, and subscribe to my channel. It would mean a lot to me. So that's it for this episode. This is Don's Copycat Mancini's Bread from Pittsburgh. We'll see you next time.